Show number 114. This is the highlight replay. If you missed it, this is where we answered questions live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. This is your opportunity to watch the replay. Don't miss it. Each week at 7 p.m. Eastern on all three platforms live. So stand by. Let's get it.
Flipman, it's the Flipman. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.
And we are live for show number 114 for this week's Flippinar at Ask Flipman on all handles, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I have the lovely young ladies with me here tonight, Adria and Renikia. How are you, ladies?
I'm good. How are you?
Give Adria some appreciation. You know, we talked about it last week.
Yes.
And she came up with this shirt. Y'all see what it's a play on, who we biting off of, but they're out of business now. Offers are free. This is off towards us. You know what I'm saying? So offers are free.
Yes, I like that. Adrian, you came up with something with that one now.
I be trying to do things. I be trying.
That takes the fear out of putting your offers out there. They're free.
Yeah. Hey, they free, man. Hey, everybody look free. Offers are free. Guess what? You may actually get a deal off of making that free offer.
Exactly.
Offers.
Okay, let's jump right into this. Sheila Dabney, I see you from Houston, and I see a few questions. Ty, do you have anything to add before we jump into this?
Oh, no, just Instagram. Glad to see you all here. You can only hear me, and you can see me. You can hear the ladies or whatever. But yeah, let's rock.
Let's rock. He says, let's do this thing. First question from DeVario, and this is on YouTube. He wants to know, do I pay the tax liens or does my buyer? So I think we covered this, but that's a good question because I haven't seen it in a while. This is from DeVario. So who pays the tax liens?
Honestly, it's all negotiable. And from my opinion, it's all negotiable who pays those tax liens. So I'm assuming it's not one of those, purchase at the foreclosure step tax liens. It's meaning that you got to the closing table and there's some unpaid taxes on the property. And you're trying to figure out who's going to pay those taxes. Importantly, I'm always going to look at the seller. You got to pay your own taxes. Now, if the seller's at a place where, hey, he's like, hey, I sell this, but I'm not paying any taxes. That's when you have to come up with, that negotiation piece to determine if you're going to be willing to pay those taxes, your end buyer going to be willing to pay some of those taxes. That's when it gets very at a point where you just got to negotiate who's going to take care of those taxes. It's really the seller's supposed to take care of those taxes, but he has all the rights to say, hey, I'm selling this with unpaid taxes. It's up to you to pay those taxes. So, and time may have
just to piggyback off of that, it's up to the seller normally to pay those, but as she said, everything is negotiable. And so just to give you an example, the back taxes may be $3,500. You are going to make, we'll say, give me some easy math here. You're going to make $15,500, right? And the seller says, I'm not paying them. The buyer says, I'm definitely not paying them. So are you going to allow $3,500 to keep you from making $12,000? If you didn't get that, that's subtracting 3,500 from 15,500 leaves 12,000. I'm going to take the 12,000 and run with it. So it's negotiable. Not saying that happens. I'm just telling you, just keep that open mind. Hey, if that's going to be a deal breaker, what do I have to give up to make this happen? If I, assuming you don't have another buyer lined up or whatever situation, but I'm just assuming you don't. You have to just look at it and say, hey, is there still enough money on there if I eat the taxes to make this deal work? So it's negotiable. you know, and then you may have the seller say, well, you go back to the seller. Well, what if I pay $1,500 toward the taxes and you pay the other $2,000 off that $3,500? You know, so you just start there. You know, maybe you start low. You say, hey, I'll pay $1,000 of it or whatever. So
right.
And, or you just raise the price, which is the same thing or whatever.
Right.
So whatever.
All right. Speaking of that 15,000, I'm glad you mentioned that. Mr. Deontay White, who is on YouTube, says, how do you determine what your fee is on a deal?
Deal you later.
Yeah, deal you later. Oh, yeah. That's a setup. That's a softball, ain't it?
It was. Yep, still in the park, though. We didn't knock it out.
Hey, you got the wrong person hitting me. So, to answer your question, sir, I created this simple calculator at my site, dealyoulater.com, that will allow you to basically just play with the numbers. All right. So it's automatically defaulted at these numbers here, but you can change any of them. But just assume we were working with these numbers, right? So you have ARV is $250,000. If you don't know what ARV means, it simply means what will the house appraise for in excellent condition? In vernacular words, house that's sold in great, it's just been recently renovated. You know, that's what if my house looked like that, that's what it'll sold for because they are similar size within a certain distance, so on. All right, we'll assume that the repairs are $35,000. And so your cash buyer number, what you could probably wholesale it to them for is around $140. These are not set in stone. It's just numbers to give you an idea of what you're working with. So now here's your number. You say, well, hey, I want to make $10,000 off this. So this number here in the blue is what you'll need to be at with the seller or below. What if you say, hey, well, I want to make $20,000 on it? All right, well, boom, that's what you need to be at, the 120 or below. So that's how you can simply figure it out. Well, you say, I'm satisfied with $5,000. So boom, there your number is. So this calculator will simplify understanding what is a deal, but also helping you know what can I make off the deal. So once you find these numbers, you know, the ARV, figure out the repairs or whatever, and boom, you're in the game. Okay, does that answer his question?
I think it does, but I know I messed up. I was trying to explain this to someone and they were like, well, I'm not even going to do it unless I can make $5,000. Like, it doesn't work that way. You don't get $5,000 off of every deal. One might only be $1,000, but you might offset it and make 10 or 20 on another. You can't, there's no set fee for how much you're going to make. And I think maybe newcomers may get kind of mixed up in that.
What's half of zero?
Nothing.
Exactly. Don't have that mindset because it's a numbers game.
What's half of zero? Nothing. So shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Because the ball is zero.
Yeah.
Get it? Shoot zero.
Pigs get fed. Hogs get slaughtered.
Here we go. Next question.
Don't have that mindset. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. You can get $2,000 off 5 deals. That's still $10,000 that month. You know.
And yes, Greg, you are absolutely correct. Greg has pointed out that some of the questions, there are videos. There's 370 plus videos, you guys, that are available to you on YouTube to watch on repeat, as we call it. Binge on those videos. Grind out in the streets and then stack your coins. But we do like answering questions, and sometimes you may be directed to a video. But we try to catch as many as we can because we know that there are newcomers who are just coming on. Next question. Yes, King Tut, this will be available to rewatch. We've only been on for about 10 minutes here. All the videos are available about 5-10 minutes after we close out. And then, as mentioned before, you can go to YouTube and watch the live shows on repeat.
Let me read this one from Instagram.
I'm looking at Instagram like, why? I can't read from Instagram.
The one about owner financing then. Go ahead.
Oh, never mind.
You didn't see it?
I do, but it's at the bottom. I was trying to go on. What?
Well, that's fine.
What are your thoughts on owner financing?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go. What? How does he say his handle?
That's I Promise You, LLC.
I Promise You, LLC from Instagram. What are your thoughts on owner financing. Owner financing is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
That's one of the first forms of no money down techniques. Wholesaling is one of them, but lease options and subject to are also forms of no money down techniques of being able to either gain ownership of real estate and or make money from real estate, which is the purpose or whatever. But owner financing is a beautiful thing. I looked at a property today that Adrian and I were discussing it on, and I may consider doing an Airbnb. I'm a little afraid because I don't know what I'm doing.
Do it.
I get afraid also, but
Hey.
I'm about to pour a lot of money into just to be able to pick up the property through a lease purchase because it's a pre-foreclosure. I met a great realtor today. Oh man, this dude is awesome. I'm trying to get him to come on.
Whoa. So we're advocating.
No, he's an investor. He's an investor that has a license like Renikia. You know what I'm saying? He's
partnering with realtors.
No, I've always said.
You have.
Oh, wait a minute now. Hey,
Sources.
yeah, he's an investor.
Okay.
That just happens to be a realtor, But anyway, point being, what were we talking about? Oh, owner finance. Owner finance is great, man. Yeah, because you can wholesale owner finance deals also. You just set up the terms. You can wholesale to either a family that wants to live there, a retail buyer, or you can wholesale to another investor or whatever. So what do you think?
No, I agree. It's a beautiful thing if you can find a homeowner who are willing to owner finance their properties.
Yep.
And it's all about the terms. Are they going to do a 30-year note to you? Do it balloons in 2 years? Do it balloon in 1 year? You make sure you negotiate those terms so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Because if you have a balloon payment in 2 years or 24 months or 36 months, it's basically saying that if they're asking $100,000, they're looking for that full amount at that balloon payment moment. However, you can renegotiate another term, but just know and understand the terms that you're negotiating when you do that.
Okay. We're just gonna say TK on YouTube says, I have a seller who has a question about the 5th question in the contract. What exactly does that section mean? Also, will she be reimbursed for the taxes she paid and the insurance she's already paid? So I'm assuming you're talking about the 1-page contract that Ty has made available to each and every one of you free of charge. You can find that contract on Delia Later.
We're going to read through it and see what it says because I don't know what he's talking.
Can I hit my ball?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you didn't hit yours at the part. Let me hit mine. Okay. You can find that 1-page contract on DeliaLater.com. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can look at your screen. Ty has it up. So let's see what that 5th question is on the contract. And also we'll tackle the portion about the seller being reimbursed for the taxes and insurance she's already paid. So 5 on the contract says closing date and transfer of title. This transaction shall close on or about, I was reading it. I'm sorry, guys. You were in a really jolly mood today. I cannot believe you moved that and I was reading it on the screen.
Actually, I had already moved it. But I knew it was about to happen, but it's back. It should be back now.
I don't see it.
It's going down.
Yeah, it's going down, all right.
Okay, boom.
Okay. Closing will be held at and sellers agree to transfer marketable title free and clear of all encumbrances except those listed and pay any required state taxes or stamps required to record deed and mortgage. Seller agrees to furnish title insurance in the amount of the purchase price, showing no encumbrances or exceptions other than previously noted. So
well, that girl can read.
You know what? I'm just gonna drop the mic.
No, not drop the mic.
What?
Hey, I can get to your layman's term. You might be in your first time looking at it, Nikki, but basically they're saying that the seller gonna pay what they're due, right? And what they've already paid, they'll be reimbursed on. That's just how the numbers will fall out on the HUD 1 statement or whatever. Now, some states, like here in Alabama, they pay in the arrears, meaning, let me see, what does that mean? Like, let me see, arrearages, or they say they pay it in the arrears. I'm trying to explain it. I know I sit through so many of them. It's like if you've already paid it, let me see, if you've already paid it, then they'll give you a credit back at closing. But if you haven't paid it, they'll charge them up to the date, because the taxes end, the ending cycle date in Alabama is October 31st of every year. And so say it's like, let me see how they do this. Say it's like now, which is September, they would be on the hook for up to today or whatever. I think that's how it works or whatever. But basically, in a nutshell, it's saying they're going to pay what they're responsible for paying. It's that simple. If they hadn't paid any tax or anything, they're going to have to pay taxes at closing. If they've already paid the taxes, they'll get credit back. That's it. Up year to date. Up to that date. Is that your understanding of that verbiage, or?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
But while we're here, I just wanted to show them. Like people, they always hit me up on Instagram and YouTube or wherever. This is where the best place to get access to the contract, because you can actually fill it out here, right? It'll look all professional and pretty. And then you hit generate. And then the next page, it'll take you to where you can just download the contract. You can either print it or you can just email it to whoever you want to email it to. So you don't have to be standing there with a contract when you're standing there with a seller. If you want to do that, you still can generate it right here on the site. You don't have to actually, and I updated it where you used to have to omit number 4 and then write in buyer will pay all closing costs minus any unpaid taxes, mortgages, or liens. Now it's right there in the contract. I changed that whenever we did this online version. And then you can also put your due diligence period in here also. So, it works. So don't worry about downloading it from anywhere. You can still do that. I'm just telling you, if you want to just do it the simple way, all you have to just plug in the information. I have videos to show you how to do that. And, just access this free, man.
All right, there you have it. And that one-page contract, we do have a testimonial. That's from Matata John Luca on YouTube. He says, thank you so much for the videos. I called and spoke with you once. Me and my partner made $20,000 in the last 2 months using your one-page contract and watching your videos. So
Wow.
Way to go,
Wow.
Matata. He said, I would love to come and get
Big
a testimonial.
gator.
Oh, yeah. Just text me, man. We can do that.
Mm-hmm. Now, we were just talking about that owner financing, and TKNA on Instagram wanted to know, does owner financing require money down?
It depends on what you negotiate.
It's all a part of the verbiage of the contract.
And what you negotiate.
Man.
It really depends. I mean, there's a little down payment piece to owner financing, but it's all about negotiating that down payment piece. I mean, anything can be negotiated. They can put it on the back end where it's due on the back end when the entire contract becomes due. It's all about how you really negotiate that.
Zayo on Instagram, I'm calling you out. How do you get the one-page contract? Dude, I just said that. Okay, no, seriously, go to dealulator.com. That's DEALULATOR. Dealulator.com. That one-page contract to be there for you. Okay, so getting back to the questions and money. How do you recommend tackling a quitclaim deed? And this is for Almalium on YouTube.
What's the name?
Quitclaim deed.
Yes. How do you recommend tackling it? And is it even a good idea? I mean, first of all, let's tell everybody what a quitclaim deed is.
So there's probably a more technical term about quitclaim deeds, but quitclaim deed is where you can go down to the county and just truly quitclaim someone's name onto a deed. Is a one pager, and any attorney can really get it done. But most importantly, it doesn't give you all the warrants and benefits as if you had really went and got a full warranty deed. So when you get quitclaim, anyone can quitclaim you onto a property. However, what any type of liens or anything that is associated with that property is absolutely yours if you get quitclaim onto that property. So just make sure that you know, if you do something like that, just kind of pull the title, know what you're getting yourself into. You could hit quitclaim and inherit a tax lien and water bill and all types of stuff that you have to take care of because you don't have any title insurance. So just it's a simple process, but just know that you could get caught up with some liens and things that you got to take care of on the back end.
And also ownership. They may not actually even own the property.
That's true.
That's part of what
that happens all the time.
Yeah, that's part of pulling the title. Now, and that even gets even deeper. They think they own it, right? They're not trying to scam you. They think they own it because mama died, and now they started paying the taxes, and the tax people changed their name on the tax record. But that doesn't give them ownership. It's just they wanted to make sure they were sending the tax bill to the right person or whatever. Or they may have purchased it through someone, but they didn't go through the right chain and they didn't get a title search done. They got a quick claim. You see what I'm saying? So it could just go on. So that title search is very important on that. They're not going to probably still give you title insurance on it or whatever. If you don't want to go through a warranty deed or whatever, but at least you'll know, hey, at this point, when I purchased it through the quick claim, everything was good. You know, at least I was aware of what the situation was. So.
Right. That's a good point that you made. Honestly, I know plenty of people have been scammed here in Atlanta from people quit claiming them onto a property they don't even own. They wouldn't have got the quit claim. They wouldn't have got the deed notarized and everything. So it looks like they own it. So, I mean, you can really get caught up and get scammed dealing with those quit claims. So just be careful. Get an attorney involved. You know, it will cause you a lot less stress just getting an attorney involved and getting some type of title insurance.
All right. So let's talk about closings. I'm going to try to combine 3 or 4 different questions I see here all into one.
Where?
And this is from YouTube.
Okay.
So Sharman has the question of, does the seller has to be at closing if they're an out-of-town owner, and how does this process work? And tackling that, we're also going to answer the question of what exactly is a double closing? What are the benefits to or to not do a double closing? And that is from Sean Jackson. In fact, the question says, my question is, can you explain a double closing and why one would do a double closing? And so why would you do one? If you did, what is it? And then if the owner is out of town, what goes down that way?
Okay. I can start that off and Ty can finish it up. So you can sell properties out of state. It's really called an out of state closing. And it's no difference. They will find an attorney there, someone to notarize the documents. They will overnight the documents with wet ink. They will email the documents to the closing attorney that day. Any monies that need to be wired, they can wire from where they are. It's just called an out of state closing. It's really simple. It's just a very, very simple process. If you do have a seller out of state, you just close. It's just be an out of state closing. To answer your question regarding the double closing, so the double closing is a scenario where instead of you really, I'm kind of simplify this a little bit, but instead of you having your assignment fee on the HUD, basically telling everybody, hey, I just made $15,000 off you and I didn't put any money up. Some people don't like that. Sometimes the seller look at that, the end buyer looks at that, and they're like, no, you can make $2,500, but you're not going to make $15,000 out of me. Sometimes they try to count your pockets. So there's a time in some scenarios where you want to double close your property, and that's basically you have an A/B closing between you and the seller, and then you have a B/C closing between you and the end buyer, and it happens simultaneously all at the same time.
All right, guys. So now let's tie in the next questions I see. Who does this closing? What's the proper way? Do I need a closing attorney or a title company? And I can't really find the question, but I know that's ultimately what I was asking.
Either one can close your deal. I mean, you can use an attorney or a title company.
Okay, so the question was, is it better to close with a real estate attorney or a title company when doing deals from a different state? And so if ultimately we said it either or, so does it vary depending on where you are? If you had the option, which would you choose?
I always go with attorney. I always go with an attorney, but title companies do the same thing. I mean, honestly, the attorney calls the title company. The title company pulls the title for the attorney. So really, I could cut out the whole middle. I can cut out dealing with the attorney. I just always dealt with an attorney, real estate attorney instead of a title company. I'm sorry, what do you think?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Like she said, it's just going to be your own personal preference on that. A lot of times, title companies, they'll have what they call a title agent, and sometimes they have a actual attorney on staff, just depending on the title company. So it doesn't matter. Just if you're in a state that does both, then both work. If you're in a state that only does one or the other, then that's what you have to go with as far as where the property is located. Some states are attorney only, and some of them only escrow only, title company only also. And then you
Right.
like here in Alabama, they're both, so you can do a title company or attorney. Yeah.
It's really preference.
Okay. So on Instagram, Bobby Elvis says, "Hey y'all, I got a question. I was driving for dollars earlier today and came by a vacant property. They had the papers on the door and everything. I'm curious though, what can I use? Low to no cost." Don't see the rest of the question. Hold on.
Right here.
Oops.
Offers are free.
Yeah. Okay. To find the owner and call him or her. So free options or low cost options to find an owner. Yeah, I think we do this every week too. You still don't have a screen grab that you can throw up there.
For what?
So, I mean, I can start off the question. To locate a property, so if you're driving for dollars and you see some vacant properties, first and foremost, you want to write down the address. And then immediately you can go to the property records and you can figure out where the mailing address of the homeowner. A lot of times, if the mailing address is different from the actual home address, that's probably where they live or where they receive mail. And you just send them out a yellow letter or a letter stating, or a postcard stating you want to buy their property. Or you can do skip tracing, and you can try to skip trace the homeowner, find a phone number where you could call them directly and ask if they are willing to sell the property.
All right. Speaking of sellers wanting to sell, let's see if everybody can get the answer on whether this is or is not a motivated seller. So Kevin Riggs on YouTube has run into a seller that only wants their appraised value for their home that's been boarded up for 5 years. Should I move on or keep at them?
What do you mean is appraised value? From the county?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the retail value.
Either or is not going to work.
Okay.
Neither one of them going to work properly if it's boarded up. Not necessarily, but in most cases, the assessed value probably not going to work. And then we know the retail value is not going to work if you talk about wholesaling or whatever. So we would need a little bit more details, I guess, on what's the assessed value versus the ARV, for the area. So that property.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, same.
Same. Ditto. My computer is frozen up.
It has.
Yes, I cannot move.
Okay.
It is stuck. So
What was the full question?
Hey, what'd you say?
What was the full question?
He wanted to know if it's a property. The seller wants what he said? He wants market value for a property that's boarded up.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Close it out.
and I mean, it's all relative to the repairs that is needed.
all right. Well, we'll go to Instagram because I do have access to that. And this is from Andy Henderson.
Flipping our line.
And that's, are purchase and sell agreements, acquisition and disposition, the same documents? Also, do you offer them with your assignment form?
Well, I don't give away I don't do an assignment I don't do an assignment contract per se. I do a purchase and sales agreement. Well, two purchase and sales agreement with the seller and a buyer. People do it that way, and that works, with the purchase and sale agreement with the seller and then an assignment with the buyer. Both work or whatever. It's just, if you keep watching my videos, you'll see what I mean. And the reason I do it and the way I taught it that way, I was taught that way and I teach it that way. You don't want you can do whatever you want to, but I don't want a buyer to knowingly negotiate my assignment fee. If I say, hey, I got this property in the contract for $100, I want a $25,000 assignment fee. Okay, you say, well, no, I'm not going to pay you a $25 assignment fee. I'm going to pay you $5,000. So, but if I go to him and say, I got this property, well, he won't know this, but I got a property on the contract for $100,000 and I market it to him for $145,000, and he come back and say, hey, I ain't going to pay you $145,000 for it. I'll pay $138,000. I only wanted to make $25,000. Right. You see what I'm saying? But exactly. He could come back to him and say $145,000, and I'm asking $145,000, but he say he's only going to pay $118,000. So now I got to make a decision. Do I want to make $18,000 or hold out for the $25,000? Knowing me, I'm going to take the $18,000, especially if we're going to close really fast soon as we get a clear title. So, but the point is, he didn't know what I had in the contract for. I could have had it on the contract for $1. So I hadn't did that yet. But no. But my point is, you by doing two purchase and sales agreements instead of just an assignment contract on the buyer side, they don't know what I have it on the contract for. They may eventually know if they just want to know after the deal is over and they want to research it or whatever. But I'm just letting you know, on the front end of the deal, they're not going to negotiate a price, and that price is going to work for them. And I have to make the decision or not if I'm going to take the difference between the contract between me and the seller and the contract I have with the buyer. So hopefully that makes sense. Renika can probably explain it better than I explained it.
No, I mean, that's exactly the means to the madness. And that's exactly why I always do two purchase and sales agreement with the assignment clause. And the reason being is that, trust me, I don't care how tight your relationship is with people. As soon as they see how much money you're making, everyone gets funny. So, so to just, not get anyone at the closing table where they're trying to negotiate my assignment fee, I'd rather hide it and disguise it by using two purchase and sales agreement. When you use that assignment agreement, it's almost like saying, hey, look at me, I'm about to make $20,000 off your property that I haven't put up $1 for. And somebody's going to get offended by that at the closing table. So instead of, it's okay. You'll have to pay a little bit extra money in attorney fees to do the double closing, but you don't have to negotiate your fee and allow someone to count your pockets, because people will. I have seen it. I've been at the closing table, and someone sees the fee that you're making, and the seller decides to completely back out because they don't want to see you make more money than they're making on their property. All of that is very emotional. So that's one of the reasons why I use two purchase and sales agreement instead of assignment agreement.
All right. So jumping right back into the questions we have on YouTube. R. Eddington, two questions. The first one is, what is the ideal age of a property to try to get a wholesale deal? And the second part is, what are your thoughts about the opportunities to wholesale in Charlotte, North Carolina? So tackling the first part, is there a certain age limit on the property?
Age limit on the property?
Like if
you have to be 18 years old and do a contract.
No, you mean the age of the property?
Age of the property.
The year it was built. No, because you're in cities like, you on the East Coast, you can be in somewhere like Pittsburgh or Virginia. Some of those properties were built in the 1800s, but they may be worth $500,000. You know what I'm saying? It's just relative.
You get that.
Maybe worth $2 million. I don't know. It's just relative. So to answer your question, it doesn't matter. It just has to be market relative. Just what's going on in that neighborhood. Normally, the way neighborhoods are built, as you see, you'll look at comps on a property, and you don't have to always go by this, but you'll see 1920, 1920, 1925, or you'll see 1972, 1973, because normally houses are built in clusters or subdivisions. If to make you understand a little bit. But normally built in clusters in most areas, and that's been going on forever, right? Even now, you'll see houses that were built in 2004, 3, 4, 5. Then you'll see houses built in, it'll be 100 houses built in 2015, so, but it doesn't matter about the age of the house. If other houses are being built in that same time, you got stuff to compare to, you know what I'm saying? So it's just relative. It's just relative to the area.
Okay. And the second portion of that question is your opinion on the market in Charlotte. Are there opportunities to wholesale there?
Are houses free there?
People living?
Yeah, people living. We ain't been.
I know, but you haven't done this in there. Are there divorces? Are people dying?
I ain't do that part. Do people die in Charlotte?
Yeah, here we go.
Do people get divorced? Do they lose their jobs and income? Do they relocate? Do they have medical issues?
Is everybody homeless? Everybody
hired landlords? Hey, I think you get it.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is specifically to the Atlanta area. Wants to know, is that a good area, for wholesaling? So let's see here. Let me go to the question. Do y'all have any advice for wholesaling specifically in the Atlanta city and metro area?
Softball.
Oh, God. The entire Atlanta is for sale right now. I mean, just look around and see the cranes in the air. I mean, it's impossible to lose in the wholesale game in Atlanta. Impossible. I mean, totally impossible. I mean, the whole city is being gentrified right now. The entire city being gentrified. The city is for sale. The outskirts is for sale. Around the West End and the close to the stadiums for sale. I mean, just pick a spot. Everything is booming. You can go in the high end area and that's booming. Atlanta is just that city. It's that city. It's hot right now. It's being gentrified on a whole nother level, and there's a lot of money to be made out here. Yeah. Start off by connecting with a lot of real groups and real estate investor groups out here in Atlanta. I mean, there's a group of real estate investors meeting every day. You got to plug in.
Any input, Ty?
No, that's Atlanta, the queen of Atlanta.
That's our backyard.
Plug in, please.
She's the QOA, queen of Atlanta.
I'll take that.
Okay, so Ron Legend, haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us tonight. Every time I see Ron Legend, I want to say Ron LeGrand. What's up, Ty? Got a burning question for you. You might want to put some cream on that. I try to play fair in this wholesaling game. When I hang drop Bandit signs, I don't pull down or knock down anyone else's posts. I feel maybe the best offer will win, but these evildoers will invade my spot or block my sign with theirs or completely throw it in the bushes. Has this ever happened to you, and how can I avoid it?
Well, a lot of times you just can outlast people, but you don't want to waste money. So he's putting them in areas where they already exist.
Yes.
Is what he's saying?
Basically.
Yeah. Boy, that's tough there, man. A lot of times you can just outlast them, man. Just put out a few or whatever, and just be a little bit more creative. Think outside the box or whatever. And what I mean by that, you can target fast food drive-throughs, bank drive-throughs, in fast food drive-throughs where they order their food, where they pick up their food, where they're exiting the parking lot. There may be opportunities there, but all drive-throughs are not built equally, so you have to just put yourself in that position. If I'm sitting in this line to order my food, can I see that Bandit sign whether I want to see it or not? If there's no way to place it like that, then it's probably not going to fit. Or when I'm picking up my food, can I see that sign whether I want to see it or not? Or when you exit in the parking lot, you may want to target some shopping centers, put one or two out in shopping centers, Walmart, Target, Lowe's, places like that. Definitely all freeway exits. Within neighborhoods, you may They may all be on the main drag, but you'll have your signs in neighborhoods where you enter in onto a main street or whatever, or maybe a street back or whatever. So just think outside the box a little bit, my man.
And also, when it comes to lead generation, it's not one lead generating tool that really works, and it's the overall be all scenario. You want to have multiple lead campaigns going at the same time. Is it, so you're not putting all your apples in one basket where you just waiting on someone to call your Bandit signs. I mean, you have your Bandit signs out there, you putting things out there via social media. You also call it leads from Zillow and Craigslist. You also going to different networking events and meeting different people. It's a combination of multiple to really get yourself out there in your local market.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shaq Smith, what up from West Side D-Town in the house? He says he's just leaving Kinko's, copying his door-to-door letters. Love it. Thanks for being here. How would you, and this is from Keith Trick Cottrell on YouTube, how would you approach wholesaling in a market like the San Francisco Bay Area where all the homes are $1 million plus? Does that change the game?
They're not all $1 million plus.
Well, you know what I mean.
It's just where he probably wants to do business at in that area is $1 million plus. Now, the real estate is high as in that market, but you still going to have, quote unquote, your hood areas. San Francisco got hoods too. Then you're going to have, that's a D as in dog. Then you're going to have C, right? Go up to the next hood. So you have to determine where your C's and D's at, right? And that's where you probably want to start marketing. Now you can still market in those other areas that just they're more leveraged with mortgages than the other areas. But now a D area in your market, from my understanding, that still may be 300,000. That's fine. That's what people can afford.
Lord.
Hey, that's fine. That's what people can afford. You'll do the exact same thing that I do, Renika does, Adria does. Our check may be 5, 15, 20,000. Your check could be 40, 50, 100,000. Do the exact same thing.
Put me in San Francisco right now. Trust me, I will wholesale some properties. Right. The spread is bigger out there.
Hey, do they get divorced in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Do they die in San Francisco? The reason we throwing that just everyday life creates motivated sellers, right? Your job as a wholesaler / marketer / investor is to make sure they know you exist and that you buy houses. That's your job. And you just let the numbers take over from there.
Exactly.
Now, each market is different. So your form of marketing, Bandit signs may not work as well in those markets versus other, but you don't know until you get out there and test. Direct mail may work better or cold, So you have to test. It's just at the end of the day, you have to figure out what works in your market. It will work. You're still going to have a motivated seller, and I can guarantee all that bread out there in Silicon Valley, in that general area, they got, you know what I'm saying? The unlimited amount of bread out there. Oh my God.
And it's not the cost of it either. It's relative to the value. If I can pick up $1 million property in San Francisco and I can sell it or it's valued at 2.5 million, someone will be willing to buy that because there's so much equity in those properties. So focus on the value of the property and not necessarily how much it costs. What is it really valued for if I sell it? Do I have equity in there? Is it, can that equity be marketable where another end buyer will be willing to come in and buy it from you? I think there's a lot of opportunities in California, and your spreads are, like Todd said, is $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 assignment fees. I mean, that's another level. I mean, it would take us 5 properties to meet one of your assignment fees probably. So I would still go for it. I would go at it. It's a good market out there.
Okay. Going to Instagram, and just wanted to make sure I answer a few questions from there before it drops out because it only allows 1 hour streaming time. Hey, Flipman, I know you do direct mail. Where and how do you get the best lists? Can you tell us about how to get probate lists as well?
Well, there's a video I have on probate, so I'm not an expert on that, but I interviewed an expert. Just don't go to YouTube and do a search for probates and Flipman, and you'll see that interview. It's really, really good with my man. I think it's Chad over at alltheleads.com. But yeah, just go there and just do a search for Flipman and probates, and you'll thank me later on that. As far as building, what do you say, building lists for what?
Direct mail. Just how do you get the best list for direct mail?
Now, I don't know if this is the best list, but this is what I do. I already had it pulled up for you guys tonight. So I wanted to be able to do this. What's the county? I'll just pull up San Francisco. So we were talking about San Francisco. Let's do that. San Francisco. Can Tyrone spell it? Nope.
Flipping our line.
I spelled it. All right. So here we go. So first thing you do, I put in the city. All right. San Francisco, California. And I'm going to target non-owner occupied. That means absentee owners. They own the property, but they don't live there. You can only have one homestead. Any additional real estate is considered absentee or non-owner occupied. Now you have a lot of different options here in the filters. You have MLS, you have pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, liens, cash buyers, high equity, vacant, bankruptcy, divorce, auctions. As you notice, I skip free and clear. That's normally my choice of medicine here. All right, so I'll go with free and clear. All right, property characteristics, I'll go with single family. Now, I think California, I think that's one of those cities that it has a heavy condo and townhouse presence. So you may want to even target those, but for the sake of this particular slight training here, I'm going to do single family. All right. The next thing that I'm going to do, it's up to you however you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and unselect. I want them to be off market, so they're not on MLS, right? All right. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is, what I do? I'm going to, I don't care about the foreclosure status on this, ownership info. So I'm going to do individual, right? And then now I'm going to do, I want them to have owned the property for at least 5 years. I know in this market there's a huge population, so it should still pull a good number. So the end result is 2,583 listings. So what would happen then is I would create a list. If you don't know, I'm in Deal Later, aka PropStream. Get over there, you can get your free trial. So I would select all of these properties and I would add to a list. So this is a brand new list. I would create the list and I would name it, and I can do SF, and I would probably put the date is normally what I do, right? I need to be able to find it, but I'm not going to save this because I'm not going to target that market. So if I save this, then it'll be saved. And what I would do after that, I would go here to properties, and I don't know, I just pull up a list here. Let me see. That was in LA back in February. Let me see here. Boom, boom. Populate. All right, we'll just go with this one. So then the list is there, and I'll just export it. Now, once you export it, you can do whatever you want to with it. Boom. So,
all right, there you go. Using dealulater.com, aka PropStream. I highly suggest if you have not used this tool or have it added to your war chest for wholesaling, 5-day trial period where you can utilize some of limited features, of course, but most definitely still free for those 5 days, and see if this is something that would be for you. But what Ty just did there, and again, I suggest you can play back this video if need be, generating a list for direct mail.
that was actually from Instagram, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I did
all of that. I
did all that, and they can't even see. But you can go to YouTube, Instagram, and watch the replay on this. And
you're right. But some of some of the Instagram followers are actually on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, they double dipping on us.
Yeah, they double dipping. That's all right.
Oh, y'all tripping.
That's a good thing.
I'm
Good.
just tripping.
Okay, so we're talking about do you like a prop stream while you have it up there before Instagram goes out. Biological Son wants to know, do you use the campaign tool on prop stream for your marketing? What service do you use or suggest for emailers? So the campaign function on there.
Email them. I don't. Emailing sellers. That's gonna.
Dude.
I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to recommend that option. I'm just not. As far as what I would use the list for, is either going to be cold calling, ringless voicemail, voice broadcast, or direct mail. That's it. Or direct mail or SMS. That's what I would download the list for. That's me.
Okay.
So, are we hadn't been able to hear you?
Yeah.
I'm talking about Renikia.
What?
Oh, okay. I thought my thing went mute or something. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it did for a second.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Too late.
What?
Like, wow. My heart is broken. Never mind. Okay, so what's going on to YouTube? And this is from Latasha. Is that working for you? That search?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to show you that. Anyway, is it illegal to list wholesale properties on Craigslist and online if you're not a real estate agent? If so, what are my options? So,
that's a good question.
okay.
That's a really good question. It is totally illegal to market a property that you don't have contractual obligations to. So as long as you have that property under contract or you have some type of permission from the seller that allows you to market that property in public, you have the option to do that. But just be careful when you're marketing properties that you don't necessarily have under contract, because that could be illegal in so many forms. But just make sure you have a contractual obligation. Once you have that contractual obligation, you're able to just market that property publicly.
Anything?
Oh, well, yeah, you can, what she said, and you could just market the contract. You just say, I have a contract at such and such price. So that's not technically marketing the property. That's like the proper way to do it also as a wholesaler, that you're marketing a contract for $145. Your fees are just built in that price. So. That's what the guys tell me. So, hey, I'll go by what they, Okay. Next question.
Let's see here. Sticking with YouTube, we're gonna take question from Mobley REI. Who's Raheem from Philly? What do you recommend for proof of funds letters when asked? So, what's the website?
realpof.com. REALPOF. realpof.com. It's a service ran by Keith Yackey. I'm an affiliate of it. Check it out. I use it over the years. It works most of the time.
Right.
What market do you use?
Oh, and
like that. Realpof.com.
Yeah, you offer proof of funds too, don't you?
I do, but you have to be a little bit engaged and ready to get it funded through me.
You got to be ready to rock and roll with this one. This just to get an offer accepted. So then you go to the next level. To Renikia, she'll be ready to hook you up with the bread.
Right.
If you're trying to buy it,
they have me doing all types of POFs all day.
Yeah, all right. She don't do POFs.
I will once you get approved.
Laura Davis wants to know, if someone wants to JV with you and none of your buyers wants the property, should you market it to find another buyer or just let it go? So if ain't nobody buying, I'm adding up. New bait.
Well, yeah, a lot of times you just have to simply listen to your market. They're letting you know y'all asking too much.
Right.
Sometimes it's just that,
That's
You're doing
true.
Money back. much.
Yeah, that's what they say. This is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what we're doing?
Later. I'm taking a few more questions on YouTube, and this is from Doster Group or Doster Group. Families, 3-bedroom, single family has 93,000 in equity. The ARV is 225. Needs approximately 71,000 in repairs. Underpinning is included, and this is in National Harbor, Maryland. So pulling up our calculator.
Oh.
Pulling up our calculator.
Pulling up our calculator.
What? Calculator. What? Okay, sorry. Still waiting though. Okay, then drop.
All right, what we got?
Okay, so the ARV is 225.
225.
Mm-hmm. Approximately 71,000 in repairs.
71,000. Ooh, let's say 75. I don't
75.
know what he come up with 71, but 75.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so you gave me 93,000 in equity. I don't think that matters, does it? Because that tells us how much they owe. So what's 225 minus so that's 125.
Well, the numbers bear out as far as the MAO, as they call it, it's 82. We'll just say 83,000. And then depending on how much they want to make, we'll just say if they want to make 10 big ones. So you're at basically 72.5. So 70 that or below to seller. So what did they say they got it for?
Well, they don't say they have it for anything, but if there's 93, that means they still owe 132.
Oh, they still owe that much money?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's no deal there. It's for not as for the wholesale deal. Oh, and then it needs all that money in repairs. Yeah, that's gonna be tough to do it. Well, I don't know what they can do with that.
No deal.
75 in repairs. Ooh.
Fake news.
How much is the property? How much they want for it?
They didn't give them a price. They owe 139, you said?
No, it's worth 250, 225.
225, and they got 75 in repair, so that's back up to like two.
Whoa. Doster says no, they owe
40,000.
Oh, he said.
Don't make a deal work.
Oh, he said they owe 49,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does that change that?
If the numbers doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Literally sense.
So if you can get it for 70 grand or whatever, then you're in business. You know, you got quite a bit of room to work. Just hopefully they want to play ball like that. So if they owe 49.
Okay, Nicholas Rivera, and this is on YouTube, wants to know, do you recommend walking into a title company and saying, give me my money? No, seriously. Recommend walking into a title company and asking what contract they prefer to use while getting a deal under contract or signing a deal?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Because who's to say that's the title company that's going to be being used?
They only got one?
Yeah, your buyers, they might not want to do it with them.
Oh, gotcha.
No. I have a video. It's titled 5 Mistakes Newbies Should Avoid when Wholesaling Houses. Just look up 5 mistakes and Flipman, that video's come up. It's one of my more popular videos. And that's one of the things it goes through is why I don't think you should even worry about that part of it.
Right.
Focus on the hard part, finding the doggone deal. Get you a buyer.
Right.
Then we'll worry about the easy part, getting it closed. That's the easy part. And I don't like to use the word easy to explain anything, but if there's an easy part, if you got a buyer on the contract, a cash buyer on the seller, a seller on the contract, cash buyer on the contract, getting it closed will be easier than both of those in most cases.
Flipman. It's the Flipman. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.